How's it going, Yankee fans? Welcome back to Fireside Yankees with your boys, Alex and Ryan, back at it. Big news yesterday, Anthony Volpe obviously making this team. If you didn't just watch the video with Sam and I, broke down our projected opening day lineup, a couple of different kind of narratives, still kind of unfolding there, especially in left field. They're saying Aaron Judge could be the starter in left field there for opening day, but we expect Oswald Peraza obviously to get a lot of reps, and we'll see kind of how Aaron Hicks plays into the plan. If Stanton's going to be DHing or if he's playing in right field, there's still a lot to be said about this opening day lineup. But we want to discuss Oswald Peraza and kind of what just happened to him, right? He entered spring training with the shortstop job locked up. Great defense, showed good offense at the major league level last year, and he just got completely outplayed, right? He got destroyed by Anthony Volpe in this position battle. It wasn't even close. Volpe showed discipline, great base running, great hit tool, great ability to fight back from 0-2 counts. He didn't strike out a lot. He was doing his best and really putting together what was just tremendous baseball performances on a daily basis for the most part. And Peraza struggled, right? Like he had a couple of decent moments. He was starting to kind of heat up a little bit toward the end, the last game or two, but ultimately he just didn't do enough to win that job and got demoted because of it. And that's not to say that Peraza is a bad player or he's not capable of a lot more, because he is. He's extremely talented, but he was competing for that shortstop job. And the Yankees have Josh Donaldson, who they're very high on still, as Aaron Boone would say. And second base is cemented by Gleyber Torres. So, what happens with Oswald Peraza now? Ryan and I want to break this down for you, what we think they should do to kind of get him into a place where he can really provide the most value. And, that could be via trade. We don't know yet. But I have a couple of ideas in my head. I know Ryan has a couple thoughts as well. So we're going to break that down for you guys, as always. But before we dive into it, Ryan, how you do today, my friend?
I'm doing great. The Anthony Volpe news, I think, signals a new change for the organization. This team is no longer, taking their sweet time with prospects. They're going to be aggressive with their usage. While people there are some people that are upset that Peraza hasn't been traded and that he's just being sent to AAA. I think it's important to note that you've mentioned this with Donaldson. Donaldson is someone that the Yankees are going to rely on to play third base, but you also have DJ LeMahieu and Anthony Rizzo there. These are guys who are a little bit older, right? These are guys who, aren't necessarily going to play 162 games. You don't know who's going to regress. You don't know who's going to, you don't know who's going to have injury issues. It doesn't hurt the Yankees to have infield depth, right? And I think that Oswald Peraza is still an extremely talented player, a remarkably good defensive shortstop. There's also that situation where, let's say Volpe is hitting well, but the defense at shortstop isn't great. Maybe that presents an avenue for Peraza to play shortstop and the Yankees to move Volpe to second base. But end of the day, I don't think this is the last we see of Oswald Peraza unless something, just absolutely incredible opens up for Brian Cashman on the trade market. The Yankees aren't forced to trade Oswald Peraza. End of the day, depth is important. Having depth is a good thing. And Peraza's 22 years old. Being a 22-year-old in AAA is not a death sentence, right? We've seen certain prospects, and most notably Miguel Andujar, they debuted the year prior and then started out the season in AAA. And Andujar started out the season in AAA because of Brandon Drury, and then Brandon Drury couldn't see the baseball. And so he had a very short stint with the Yankees. And that was another guy where the Yankees really believed in him. They went out of their way to trade for him. It's not unrealistic for a guy to go down earlier, for a guy to just really struggle, or for something unforeseen to happen, and for Oswald Peraza to be pressed into action early in the season or at some point in the season as a full-time player. You weren't going to bring up Peraza as just a utility guy to throw around the infield and play 2 out of every 7 days. They did that a little bit last year, and I thought that was malpractice. You should either start him or you should keep him in AAA so he can get every day at bats. And as you mentioned, Volpe just looked better, right? It's not really, it's something that sucks for Peraza, because I think, he's more than deserving of being a major league shortstop. But when you're on a World Series now team, you can't go out and say, let's just trade Gleyber Torres for whatever because we need to play Oswald Peraza. Gleyber Torres is a huge part of this offense, right? Obviously the Yankees have tried to move Josh Donaldson. There haven't been many buyers. And then for LeMahieu and Rizzo, you're not, DFAing or trading any of those guys to start Peraza. Those are reliable, dependable guys that you need in your lineup. So end of the day, it's just the Yankees have a lot of infielders, and this is how it shaked out. I don't think this is the last we see of Peraza.
No, it certainly isn't. And here's my take about Oswald Peraza, how they can get the most value out of him. I think that they should start giving him reps on the daily at third base, and they could be giving him reps at second base, maybe equal split, third base, hot corner, and at second base, because you need to have a plan here at both positions. Donaldson is gone after this year, $25 million. They can't justify benching him. He's starting to heat up a little bit with the new batting stance, but I'm still very cautious, and I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I think he's going to bounce back and have this monster year, because I think that would be over-optimistic. I think that he could be fine, and he's a good defender, and offensively, traditionally, he's a phenomenal player, and we know that the value was there. We just don't know if the age has caught up to him yet, and I think that a lot of people would indicate, yes, it has caught up to him in some degrees, in some ways, but, you know, if he could bounce back, get a little bit closer to his career averages, we're in a really good shape, but at the same time, got to have that long-term solution there. A lot of people have brought up the Andre Chaparro, and I think he's more of a long-term solution at first base post Anthony Rizzo. He can really help serve as a DH there in the meantime, but I think they were getting him reps at first base exclusively during spring training, so I think that they do feel as though he is a good option there. But Gleyber Torres, right? 2 years of control left. Great player. He's, you know, his projections have him getting even better in 2023. So for now, he's the cemented, you know, man at second base. But again, you have DJ LeMay, you have to feed reps to as well. There's too many mouths to feed. IKF is still on this team, for God's sake. You know, Peraza just simply doesn't have enough of an opportunity to play everyday reps, which is why he ultimately got demoted. And I don't think demoted is the right way to say this. I think he got put back in AAA because they want him playing every day. You know, they don't want him sitting on the bench behind DJ, behind Gleyber, behind Volpe, behind Donaldson, behind IKF. They want him getting everyday reps and developing and getting better and, you know, just refining some of those deficiencies that he may have ahead of, you know, eventually his long-term MLB debut instead of just kind of the small 18-game sample size he experienced last year. But he's never played third base at the minor league level. So with that being said, he's got to get reps there because shortstop is off the table now. It's done. Volpe won the job fair and square. It's his to lose. So at this point in time, they need to be thinking about the future at two other spots, second base, third base, split the reps there. But Ryan, when you're looking at where Peraza kind of fits best, how do you think that this unfolds? Because personally, I think preparing for the future after Donaldson is the best scenario. I think that's what I'm focused on. I don't think that Torres is necessarily needs to be a trade piece. I think that you can keep Torres and he can be your second baseman. MLB considers him a top 10 second baseman for a reason. So with that being said, the short term, you know, kind of solution is Donaldson. You know, Gleyber still has 2 years left of control on his contract, and that's a really good situation to be in if you're the Yankees. So keep him, you know, keep these guys and prepare for after Donaldson and have Peraza get a lot of reps at third base this year. And hopefully he can kind of catch on and show that defensive quality that he's showed for so much time at shortstop.
The way I look at it is, you know, I'm more of a proponent of having Peraza be a shortstop. I think that he's such an elite defender that I'm willing to move Volpe off the position to put him somewhere else. Obviously, the glamour would be Volpe at shortstop because, you know, you think, you know, the last guy to, you know, be the last rookie to start at shortstop for the New York Yankees was Derek Jeter. You know, the youngest player to start opening day for the Yankees before Volpe was Derek Jeter, right? So, you know, that, you know, when you think of Anthony Volpe, the poise, the off the field stuff, it's Derek Jeter, right? We've seen Willie Randolph compare him to Jeter in that category. But when we're looking at the best defensive alignment, I think Volpe at second base and Peraza at shortstop is still how I view this team long term. You know, I think maybe I'm wrong on that. You know, I think you're right in the sense that they're going to be putting him at other positions as well. And I think there's value to that. Having Peraza be able to kind of move around the diamond is really helpful because, you know, you don't know what the Yankees decide to do at third base long term. You know, what if, you know, the Yankees acquire someone, or what if, you know, over the next coming years Murakami, you know, is still able to play third base and you have a situation where he's your third baseman after in 2026 and, you know, you want to put Peraza at second or whatever it may be. I mean, the way I view it is just that Peraza is such a good defensive shortstop. I feel like it's a waste to not let him play there. But as long as, and also the fact that Peraza is not as strong of a bat as Volpe is tells me that, you know, you'd probably get like a 105 to 110 WRC plus at third base, which to me isn't enough offense to justify the defense. And we don't know how the defense converts there. And as for Volpe, he's just a stronger bat, and I'd rather have the stronger bat at a weaker defensive position, and the stronger glove with a weaker bat at the more important defensive position. You know, I could be wrong about that. And as you mentioned, you know, Gleyber's still a big part of this team. You know, Gleyber presents a direct, you know, it presents a direct issue where Volpe hasn't played much third base, Peraza hasn't played any third base, and Torres, you're not, as you mentioned, you're not going to just trade him to trade him. That's stupid, right? This team needs offense, right? There's a reason they went with Volpe instead of Peraza. Peraza. If this team cared so much about defense and so much about the safe move, they would have just gone with Peraza at shortstop and kept Volpe at AAA. That would have been easy to explain. You would have been able to get that through to the fan base. We would have sat here and talked about how the Yankees are just making a move that's safer for them and that they're just trying to reevaluate Volpe and give him more time to develop. But no, they went out and they were aggressive. And the reason for that is for the offense. So, it's really going to be hard for me to see how Peraza fits for this year at least, just because I don't know where exactly that is. But again, he's still 22. Injuries happen all the time. Regression happens all the time. I think in some way or shape or form, he's going to be on this team in a big role. I'm just not sure exactly where. I would prefer shortstop, but I think that the season will dictate that for us.
Yes, it will. And a lot of people think that Peraza will be back up with the team in a matter of weeks, if not a matter of a few months. And that's assuming that Donaldson struggles. That's assuming that maybe they trade Gleyber Torres. But in that sense, you can also say DJ LeMahieu, plays second base over Peraza. So there are guys in front of him. This is going to be an interesting kind of situation that unfolds here. And ultimately, I kind of, as I said, last week, Peraza is more so looking like a trade piece than a legitimate solution immediately, and leveraging that value to maybe help the starting rotation. There's a lot of different things you can do here. Now, I do think that I would love to see Peraza succeed at third, have Volpe at short, and then have Gleyber at second base, and you really just have the cheapest infield that is full of just ridiculous amount of quality, and you're able to invest in other positions. And I think that would be a best case scenario for the Yankees. But right now, I just don't know yet. But I do think that third base, second base reps for Peraza would be beneficial. He has a lot more second base experience than third base, obviously, having none there at all. But with that being said, you look at Donaldson and you say he's gone after this year. You have to have a backup plan unless you're going to go and sign someone in free agency, which, Manny Machado's off the board. So who is it going to be? That's a big question. It's a big question the Yankees have to answer. And Peraza's the most obvious one. Why not go with the cheap homegrown talent that is an elite defensive player at every position he's ever played and see if he can do the same thing on the hot corner? I think that would be a really good, solution if he can manage. So definitely excited to see what they do there, guys. But I'd love to hear your perspectives below in the YouTube comments as always. Make sure to like and subscribe, and we'll catch you guys on the next Fireside Yankees episode.